Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? This is Let's Talk, a special edition where we're going to talk with Beth Symes, who's on my right, as you can see. She's right here. She is the content creator for Eleutheria, South Africa. So please, that YouTube channel link is in the description below. Please go check it out. Please subscribe. And we're going to be watching what Cyril plans to. I don't know. I don't know. Beth, what do you think? Say hi. Tell people who you
Hi,
are.
um, I am Beth Symes and I run Eleutheria. And we talk about all things liberty there. And yeah, I think that Cyril is going to have prepared answers for
Mm,
questions that were pulled out of a hat,
mm,
best case.
yes. Already. Chico's in the chat. Hello, Chico. How are you doing? Hope you're well. And Shane Bain correcting me, saying you're other right. Okay. It's true though. And then we have Brazo's Planet Q. All the usual suspects are tuning in. Hello, guys. Thank you so much. Tell your friends to come join us. I am keeping an eye on when the president will go live. As you can see here, it's we are waiting. Let's have a bet. Do you think he's gonna be on time?
Hmm. The last two, he was not very late.
That's true.
Like he was considered on time, but I'm going to go with 7 minutes past 6.
Interesting. 7 minutes past 6. Let us know in the comments. What do you guys think? Place your bets now. Place your bets now. I think, seeing as this is a virtual thing, and I do think that he, like we said, it is going to be scripted. I think it's going to be played out like, oh, I'm getting this like live, right now, looking at a screen or whatever. But I think it is going to be preempted and pre-scripted. But we'll see. Um, I bet you they won't even touch on cigarettes.
No, they're not even going to entertain cigarette questions.
But
It's just not going to happen.
that will be, I think, the smoking gun, if I can put it that way, to tell
Mm,
us if it's a live thing or not, or if it's scripted or not. Because if it's not scripted, everyone's going to be asking about that.
hmm
So we'll see.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Says Chico says he's gonna come on tomorrow. Shane Bain says before midnight he'll be on. That's nice. Really specific there. I think he'll be 6. I'm gonna be optimistic. 6:02.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think so. We'll keep an eye and see when that goes live. Beth, uh, according to my time, there's 12 minutes left. So let's chat a bit. This is the first time you're on my stream as well,
Yes, it is.
and
It's
we've
quite exciting.
we've known each other
I'm a little
for.
bit nervous, which makes me go quiet.
No, don't be nervous. For those of you who don't know, once again, Beth does a YouTube channel about freedom or our rights, liberty, and chats a lot about the regulations and how it infringes on our rights, and it does touch a lot on also parenthood during lockdown. So I encourage everyone to go subscribe to her channel, please. Link in the description below. And we actually became friends from Ramon's channel. I remember
That's
that.
correct.
Yeah.
hmm
Um, so Chico says he's going to be early and confuse everyone. I doubt that. I don't think he's going to be early. He's never early.
No.
He's really never early. So while we're here, what what do you predict? What do you think? Okay, we know it's going to be planned, but I mean, what do you think some of the topics will be?
I absolutely have no idea. Like the fact that people actually have demanded this from this man that gives very good speeches, and the only reason why he is as popular as what he is because he is so well spoken. but he's never really entertained a dialogue with the people that he supposedly serves.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I'm really at a loss as to what to predict he might actually be answering and have anything to say on tonight, because yeah, it's just so out of character.
Well, I think, like you said, I think he's been given a lot of backlash for not taking, because that's something that I've seen on social media. People asking like, "Oh, why doesn't he take questions? Why doesn't he take questions?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's done a few virtual media stuff, but that even gets backlash because the media aren't really asking real questions. So I think this is their attempt to kind of be like, look, we accommodate everyone.
He's
And
trying to be like Trump.
but okay, well, yeah, yeah. Trump doesn't really. I think if you get him on a good day, he'll take questions, but he doesn't do like a virtual thing. At least I haven't seen him try and take virtual.
No.
But he does take from the media, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think maybe I don't know. Maybe it's with all this what's happening in the courts now and all this. Maybe they're trying to do damage control. I don't know. I have no idea
Mm.
um, what what this is going to be all about. I do think he's been weird. Like he's been talking more about racism. He's been talking more about topics that I think divide a nation more than bring it together. So I'm hoping that won't be the narrative tonight.
Yeah, let's not forget that his announcement of advanced level 3, whatever that is, um, he basically made about gender-based violence, which is a term I don't like. It's intimate partner violence because it happens in a multitude of different situations. But anyway, we won't get too sidetracked on that. And basically, he was just pandering to women. Like his whole thing about allowing salons and that to open is because it's an industry dominated by women employees and women business owners.
Yeah.
Please. Waitresses are women too.
Yeah.
And look how long it took for those regulations to come out.
Exactly. Speaking about waiters and restaurants, I got an inquiry today to host a comedy show. And by the way, your webcam is blurry. You look like
Focus. I'm here.
still blurry.
Is it fixed it?
Nah. When you
I wonder.
put your hand in front of it again. Yeah, it's clear, and then it. Wait. Okay, it's better now. Better now. Better now. It worked. All right. Yeah, because the Punisher is here. Stevie's here. But hey, D Martin is here. Hello, D.
I keep forgetting to ask Mr. Punisher if he managed to get his fishing license.
Well, there you go, Mr. Punisher. Let us know. All the usual suspects have joined us. And for those of you who just tuned in, I've noticed there's a bit of more people have tuned in now. We are going to switch over to the president once he is on. There it is. We're going to be waiting. I'll probably put this screen on 2 minutes before 7 so that we can see when he goes on. And we'll be commentating and we'll be talking. We will probably be talking during the president. So if you don't want to hear us talking, we're not going to be talking the whole time, but we'll comment basically. If you don't want to hear that, then you're welcome to go watch it live on SABC, YouTube, or on TV. And we're not going to be cheerleaders. Well, unless the president says something, that's worth cheering for. But
you said 2 minutes to 7. I'm just clarifying. 2 minutes to 6.
Yeah, 2 minutes to 6. Sorry.
Yes.
My bad. Although with his track record.
Yeah, we just don't know. But yeah, he has been on time lately.
Yes. So yes, I was saying that today I got an inquiry to host a comedy evening, and I don't know if they wanted an open mic night or if they wanted like a high standard comedy show. But it's a venue that seats about 30 people. I've passed on details to I passed on details of a comedian who I know also organizes shows. I decided not to do it.
Why?
Simply, well, I don't think it's going to work. And also, they want me to only take the door, and I don't. With my business module, I don't do that.
Okay.
So, because think of it this way: number one, it's already difficult before COVID to bring people to a show, and yes,
Mm.
people have been deprived from shows and live entertainment, so there might be an influx of people. There might be, but people are still scared of
Mm.
this virus. That's
Mm.
that. So we're not sure how that's going to be. Secondly, with all the regulations and social distancing and all that stuff, if a venue is say 50 seater, they have to maybe be 30 seats or 70%. So it's like what 40 odd people, 30 odd people that will be in the venue. So we either have to charge high door fee to cover our
Mm.
costs, but then again, if you charge too high, people
You
might
won't get people.
exactly. So it's something that I think will need time to figure out. But for my business model and the way I do my shows, it's just not going to work. So I passed on details, and we'll see. I think it's a bad idea because yes, it might not happen at the show, but let's say the restaurant's open and they have sit down, someone gets sick, they trace it back to that restaurant, it gets shut down for 2 weeks. Like it's. I don't feel like now is the time to have live shows.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's just my consensus. That's why I
Mm.
told them. I said for as long as the lockdown regulations are in place, we're not going to be doing comedy shows. It's just not viable for us. It's not worth it for us. There's a lot of time
Mm.
and effort that we put into these shows to market them, to organize them. So to do it and maybe be lucky if we get like, I don't know. I'll be lucky if I walk away with like 300, 400 rand.
Mm.
So it's just not worth it.
You're not that desperate for stage time.
Well, the thing is, I can do this at my house, right? And the other night I made close to that, um, being in
Oh,
my house for an hour.
that reminds me. Where's your zapper?
Yeah. I'm still embarrassed about
It's
it.
fine. I'll beg on your behalf. How's that? Then you don't have to feel bad.
But yeah, look, I'm glad to see that people are attempting to do it, um, to organize shows. That gives me a bit of hope. But for now, counts me out. I don't even know if someone else was to organize a comedy show that I would even be on the lineup. I don't know yet. We'll take it as it comes. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'll hear feedback. Um, y'all, 2 minutes. Hey, Krista, how are you? I'm just checking in on everybody here. Stevie, cancel culture feedback. I am releasing a video, hopefully tomorrow. I wouldn't say it's an update. Well, it is kind of an update on cancel culture. I've been getting some interesting messages that I want to share with people. So I'll be releasing a video on that and continuing the fight, really. So I hope people will share that video and get the message out there. It's time for artists to fight back. Um, hey, Storm Legacy has joined us. We are well. We are well.
Yeah, I told him to be here.
Good, 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 good. And then Shane says, no chance hosting a show within a car park adjacent to several restaurants, and call your show the taxi rank, so as to ensure you can fill 100% capacity. I like that. That's actually
That's
really
not a
good.
bad idea.
Yeah, that might be interesting actually, like a drive-in comedy show.
Why not? And you can do it
Shane?
that people can tune in on their radios, maybe, because that's the restaurant that we're going to. They've done that.
Well, you
We were
see,
supposed to go on Saturday.
if a restaurant has that facility or that ability,
Yes.
then a comedian could chat to them and be like, let's do a show
Yes.
at your restaurant.
So Joburg comedians, if you're interested, contact Molly Malone's.
Yeah, that sounds
They might be
interesting.
keen.
Yeah. Chico is saying, I was thinking of hosting an outdoor show in Stellenbosch. There's quite a lot of people out. There's quite a lot of open outdoor space here. I think outdoor would work, but again, I still think people are scared to go out. I gotta be honest. I think the majority of the country is scared to go out, scared to really get back into the swing of things.
Well, if you look at what's going around on WhatsApp, and I have an old lady that WhatsApps me every day, and she said to me that no, apparently, there's a second wave of COVID, and it's hitting Durban and Joburg quite badly, and she's quite worried about it. And I'm like, it's not a second wave, it's just peaking. And I also don't think it's peaking as quickly as we're going to see it peak in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Because we've only had about 3-4 weeks of really cold weather, and now.
Yeah, I think it's also just a peak. But that's the thing. Now, also to my point, before COVID, during winter, it's really difficult to get people to go out because it's cold. People want to maybe order a pizza and watch Netflix or watch whatever it is they want to watch and stay in bed warm. So to do comedy shows now, woo!
This is actually the worst time for the economy to have restarted for entertainment. It is actually the worst time because it's the quiet times.
Exactly.
So.
Look, again, if comedians want to do it, go ahead. I'm just very skeptical because I've been organizing shows for 10 years. I know the trends, and with COVID, it completely throws it out of whack. It's even hard to even predict because, again, maybe you could do a show maybe this weekend at the right venue that's good for social distancing and all that stuff, and regulations are right, and maybe people would come. Maybe people would fill it out, but then to do it weekly or to do it monthly might be a challenge because maybe people go out now, they're like, oh, okay, cool, we missed going out, cool, and then that's it, and then they're like, cool, we had our fix, now we're going to stay in for like 2 months,
Yeah.
So I don't know, we'll see. Krista has a question or a statement. I don't think the majority of people are khatful. I don't think the majority of people are khatful. Yeah, I'm reading that right. So I do not see anyone staying indoors. You are in winter, so people are slow to get out. Yeah, that's what we just said basically. Stevie, second lockdown coming. Government has not destroyed enough the SMEs the first time. Yeah, people will. Yeah.
Christo also has a comment on casinos opening in Joburg, and his wife is going out. Well, good for her. I'm happy for her. I saw a news headline about casinos only opening to members, and I actually thought it was quite ludicrous because they're trying to reduce numbers by only opening to members. I have a Sun International card because then I can watch movies cheaper with my family. So I am a member. So I don't know what they actually think they're going to achieve. Because you could just get one of those cards like so easily. It doesn't even cost anything.
Maybe that's the point.
Whatever.
Maybe they want to increase their members base. I don't know. When you sign up to be a member, do they get emails and phone numbers?
Yes. Yeah, and then we tick the box that says we do not want this communication. And then they communicate with us. And we tell them that they've broken the rules. And then they quickly lose us off the database. And yeah.
Now they'll sell that shit to other companies for a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true.
How about Laughter on lockdown setup for doing shows? Online? As far as I know, they do shows online. Are they thinking? I haven't been up to date with them. Are they thinking about doing live shows like in venues? Let me know. And then Shane says, agreed, many more than normal out at present. Yeah, again, I don't know. Like, I also think that people that are struggling, like with their finances, it's very usually what happens. Like those that used to get that are now getting like 60% of the salary or 50% of the salary or whatever. The first thing that they don't spend their money on is entertainment.
Mm.
And there's a lot of people in that situation. You know, there's a lot of people that have lost businesses. There's a lot of people that are really really struggling at this point. So the markets for live entertainment in general, unless you're like, unless I've got like Barry Hilton on the lineup, I don't think people are really gonna go out. But again, I could be
Nice.
wrong.
Yeah. Mm.
Let's see here. Yes, Mario has been streaming live shows every day on Instagram, so the comics do their set online. Yes, that I'm aware of. That I know. I've been on the show a few times, and Mario's doing great things with that. So please, guys, go check that out. It's called Laughter on Lockdown. It's on Instagram. He does a live show every night at 7:30 without fail. Like it's insane. This guy is like a
Wow.
machine. And he's got comedians from all over the world. He started with South African comedians, and then he just kind of started getting Americans from Europe, from Australia, Africa, all over Africa.
Cool.
Very funny people. Every night, 7:30 for an hour, they do comedy. So go check that out. I highly recommend you go check that out and support. And tell them that Joe sent you if you go and watch. So once again, it's Laughter on Lockdown. LOL. Laughter on Lockdown. Beth, the membership is to get the member details only. You have to fill in an online.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
And as we had earlier predicted, the number of
Okay.
infections is rising, and the infections are even rising at a much faster pace. A few months ago, many of us could have said that we didn't know of anyone who is infected or anyone who has died from coronavirus. That is sadly not the case any longer. Many of us now know someone. It can be a friend, a colleague at work, a relative, an acquaintance that we know who has now been affected in one way or another. We now have well over 150,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus, of which a third were recorded just in the last week. New cases are being reported everywhere and every day. We're in the midst of a new surge of infections. It is something that our scientists and doctors have warned us well in advance, and we're now experiencing it. But it is also being experienced in many other countries around the world. We've always understood that as more sectors of the economy open up and as more people return to work, this is going to happen. The reality is that we could not remain under lockdown forever. People need to earn a living. Learners need to continue with their education. Businesses need to reopen so that they can survive, and for their staff to also keep their jobs and earn a salary. The unemployment figures that were released recently are a great worry to all of us. It is urgent that we must restart the economy after this period of inactivity. The lockdown has enabled us to do a number of things. We've been able to deploy a vast network of community health workers and to scale up the screening and the testing as well. We've been able to strengthen our health care systems by making more beds available, building filled hospitals, opening up new ICU units, and also securing medical supplies and equipment that we didn't have. And as a result, we are able to handle the rise in infections and to treat and care for those who are infected. I must, however, say that our healthcare facilities are under a great deal of pressure. We must remember that to date, many people have also recovered from the virus. So those who go into hospitals are treated and get better and leave hospital. We have rolled out an extensive public awareness and education campaign about hand washing, mask wearing, and social distancing. And we've been spreading the message that people must wash their hands and wear their masks. We've been able to implement programs and policies to support businesses and our people, and particularly those who are also out of work. In the last few months, funds and skills and resources have been mobilized across society to tackle this enormous challenge. The Solidarity Fund, for example, has been vital in getting equipment and supplies to our frontline health workers. The 500 billion rand relief package has been provided to both strengthen the capacity of our healthcare system and to assist companies, but also to assist workers and households that have been badly affected by the lockdown.
But you still can't pay salaries.
Banks and insurance companies
Banks
are
can't pay
providing
salaries.
relief to many of their clients who are in distress. And all across society have also been assisted, but many people are also giving their time to support this cause that we are in of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have done everything we can to cushion our people from the ravages of hunger and poverty in the form of social grants and food parcels to vulnerable households. I know that many of you listening are afraid of what the future holds for you in terms of our work, your jobs, and your ability to earn a living. In fact, you may fear this more than the virus itself. Now, as the Minister of Finance made clear last week, our economy will shrink, unemployment will rise, government will have to borrow more, and at least in the immediate term, South Africans will on average be poorer. But
It's not a
even
good
as
thing.
our troubles mount, we can see a path to the recovery of our economy, also to the repair of our society. Already we are making plans to rebuild our economy through bold and ambitious public investment in employment. We're going to focus on infrastructure. We're going to construct roads, bridges, dams, water treatment plants, railway lines, and houses. And through this, we want to drive a substantial and lasting economic recovery. Working with business and labor, we are going to scale up existing employment initiatives, and we're also going to support new investment and create new ones. We must not underestimate the magnitude of the challenge that we are facing. And we have to be realistic that it will take some time for our economy to recover. Already before the coronavirus pandemic, our economy was already facing enormous challenges. And it is for this reason that our economy's recovery will take time. What is important is that the work has begun for the recovery process, and we are confident that in the coming months, we will begin to steadily see results. it is important that all of us play our part, as we have done in these past few months. It has been a long 3 months of lockdown. We may be tempted to become relaxed or complacent, but we are nowhere near the end of this pandemic. Now, coronavirus is part of our lives at the moment, and will continue to be so for some time to come. We must accept this reality, as many people around the world are accepting that they must accept that we have to live with this virus until a vaccine is found. We have all seen images being circulated, and this is the worrying part. Images being circulated of people having parties and social gatherings, and know of instances where the numbers of people at funerals or congregational worship are being exceeded, and with people who are not wearing masks. Tonight, I want to implore all of us to embrace the regulations with the same vigor that we did in the early days. And I'd like to ask that everyone should be very conscious of the actions that we take, because they impact the safety of those around you. We therefore need to remain vigilant. And of course, the rise in infections is making all of us nervous and anxious. We need to know that our workplaces are safe. We also need to know that our schools are safe, but we are not helpless in the face of this virus. And if we take the necessary precautions, we really do not have to be afraid. If we act and work together as communities, as church groups, as school governing bodies, as taxi associations, as unions, as businesses, as sport teams, we can make our everyday activities much safer. I have no doubt that we will beat this coronavirus. But as I said the other day, we have a second pandemic in our country.
Here it comes.
Gender-based violence has become a second pandemic in our country. This is another pandemic that we've got to defeat. And there are a number of actions that we need to take, not only to defeat the coronavirus, but also to defeat gender-based violence. We must and will build a more just and more equal society where we respect one another, where we respect the women and girls of our country and children of our country.
Fix
It is important that as
system.
we deal with this virus, we also deal with the other pandemic of the abuse
Just make it easier for
of
women to carry
and
guns.
children. I look forward to our engagement, your feedback on what is not going well, and your feedback on what must change is of great help to us.
Yeah, don't act like you care.
As we are involved in this national effort, I'd like all of us to see this as a collective effort where
COVID
all of us
to
as
take
South
GBV
Africans
seriously.
are involved
But no,
in
he told
defeating
us all of
the
this August
coronavirus
last year as
pandemic,
well. So
but also defeating
I'm
gender-based violence. I thank you, and I look forward to our engagement.
Alrighty, let's see what happens. They muted this guy's thing.
To 446. That's the toll-free number, by the way, if you want to be in touch with us. We're chatting to the President of the Republic of South Africa this evening. He's reserved some time to engage with you with regards to COVID-19, as you know it. Now, this is the virtual presidential Imbizo that we're having, and I would like you to be part of it as well. So use that number, 0800 142 446. Perhaps we can go to the telephone lines already, and Mr. President, and let's hear what the people have got to say. Some of the questions and comments that they have. I think the first person that we have on the line is Rulani. Let's take Rulani on the line. A very good evening to you, Rulani. We're doing well. What is your question? We're doing so well. Thank you so much. Go for it. What's your question?
Can't hear him. That's not me. That's them.
Go.
They're having audio problems.
You're struggling to get what? Cigarettes. All right.
Even the translator can't hear.
All right.
This is what you pay your
Thank
TV
you so much,
license for,
Rulani,
people.
for that. Really appreciate it. I believe that was coming. I could see that coming.
Yeah,
I just didn't know it was going to
cigarettes.
come so soon, Mr. President. Really. Let's go to our second caller. We're going to take three callers at the time, and then we'll hand it over to you, Mr. President, so you can answer
Even
those
Cyril's
questions.
confused.
Here's our second caller. It's Posihle from Eastern Cape. Posihle, go for it.
Oh, they're not. Yeah, the first question was about cigarettes, apparently.
Hi.
Obviously.
Yes.
Can't hear.
All right. Thank you so much, Posihle. I believe that's all that you had. Do we have the third caller? All right. We don't have the third call at the moment. So, Mr. President, those are the two questions that we have for now. The first one is coming from Rulani. And I think it's a question that I foresaw it's coming. I just didn't know it was going to come this quick, though. Rulani wants to know the ban on the availability of cigarettes. When do we see that? When do we see the ban lifted? Is it anytime soon?
Do you want me to?
That's them. That's not me.
One after the other? I'm happy.
You can go.
Yes, just Fulani, the ban on the availability of cigarettes, and as I have said in my addresses to the nation, we will not be under lockdown forever. So even the ban on cigarettes will be lifted.
Do you want me to answer? Is that what he asked?
It is still in place now in terms of our regulations, and I think we should accept it as such. With time, as we go to another level and another level, the ban on cigarettes will also be lifted. And as I've said, cigarettes are not banned forever in our country. The ban will be lifted.
So in other words,
so the second question that we have, and I believe this one is around, symptoms of COVID-19. Looks like there's a bit of a confusion there, Mr. President, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but initially it was said that it will be sort of like you're coughing and difficulty to breathe, but the listener here, Sposita, is worried that there may be more. Can you respond on that, Mr. President?
Well, I'm not a medical doctor. I should say that up front. And from a medical point of view, I rely very much on the Minister of Health, as well as the medical advisory committee that the Minister of Health has put together, which advises the National Coronavirus Command Council and government. And some of the things that one tends to read and to hear from all these experts is that, yes, I mean, people tend to feel it in their chests, Headaches are part of it, as I've heard, and some joint pains. Those are some of the symptoms, and I'm sure there are many more as people go through the various steps of feeling a little bit sick from coronavirus. And I must say that some are asymptomatic. They don't display any symptoms, and yet they've got the virus. So we are rather pleased that those that do get sick do end up in our hospitals, much as our healthcare system is challenged, particularly at this point in time. We do have a relatively good healthcare system, even as it faces challenges emanating from the past. A number of people who have succumbed to the coronavirus that is been infected, as they end up in hospitals, many of them do recover. And our recovery rate in our healthcare system is well over 50%. And that in itself is quite admirable. And our death rate is 1.8%, well below the world average. So much as the infections are going up, and as you said, the lockdown prepared to prepare our healthcare system so that put more beds in place. And if you look around the country, we've never
Anybody else feel like he's waffling at this point?
in place so many beds in the history of this country ever. And that has been done, and we've had the public bring up. And yes, indeed.
Again, that's not me, that's them.
Health opened a hospital in the Eastern Cape the other day, filled hospital for 4,000 beds. And so our healthcare system is rising up to the challenge with all the problems that it has.
Exactly, Chico.
But when people land in a hospital, they're given good treatment. And here, I'd like to pay tribute to our healthcare workers, our doctors, our nurses, our paramedics, our X-ray people, you name it, you name them all. They've just been more than fantastic. They are the real heroes and heroines of this pandemic. So we pay tribute to them. The nation truly has to thank our healthcare workers because they are truly the real frontline people. But as we do that, we also have to thank those who are playing a frontline role, as in the soldiers, the police of our country, traffic officers, and many others. We've got a lot of South Africans who are, in a way, putting their own lives on the line.
Our healthcare workers are doing the job that they get paid to
we pay
do.
tribute to them.
Yeah, but they're exceptional, Beth.
If they're so exceptional, why did we have to pay so many millions to bring in
I know.
what was it? Cuban doctors?
46. This is a toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a landline, 0800 142 446. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. Our virtual presidential interview together with His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa with us. I'm going to be taking three callers. This is how we're going to do it, Mr. President. So I'll take three callers, and at the end of the third caller, and then you can entertain those questions. The first caller calling from Gauteng, it's Beverly. Beverly, good evening to you. We're doing very well.
Here we go.
Thank you so much. Go ahead with your question. Hi,
Sorry.
Beverly, go ahead with your question.
You get excited and then I wait a bit.
I can't hear the questions though, but I'm hoping, because they did the same thing in the States with governors, and people were going on and swearing at the governors. So I'm hoping that kind of happens here. But I can't hear what they say, so that's from them. Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's a very long question. I'm just saying. Cyril looks bored. Sign interpreter's looking at her hands like, I don't know what to do now. Can't hear anything. Oh my word.
Right.
Is it like 100 questions?
All right. Thank you so much, Beverly, for your question, and we'll definitely answer that one shortly. Let's go to Siabonga from Port Shepstone. Siabonga. Siabonga, Port Shepstone, we're doing very well. Thank you so much for calling in. Go ahead with your question.
Bet. If they do this again, you know what we should
Okay,
do?
looks like we've lost the Siabonga there. Let's move ahead, and we're
should
going to
go
go
on
to
stream
Matatiele. We're chatting
and
to
film
TD.
you
So,
or
TD, so
me
go ahead with your
phoning
question.
in,
Yes, and
asking
swearing
the
at them.
question.
TD, so your question?
Start swearing at them.
All right. It looks like we've lost those two callers,
Give
but
us
we
cigarettes
managed to get
back.
Beverly. We'll try to get Siabonga
I
and
bet you
back
those
again
other two were
on the
asking about the
line.
cigarettes.
Mr. President, here is
I
an
bet
issue
you.
that you've touched on in your opening
Oh, we
remarks.
lost these people.
Issues
we
that's
lost
got
these
to do
people.
with gender-based violence. And here's a caller calling in to say, listen, just recently now, I've been a victim to gender-based violence. Now, the problem with this is when she went ahead and laid charges on the perpetrator, the perpetrator came back again, and the police were there at the same time. And she was told that the perpetrator cannot be arrested because they are mentally challenged. Now, here's a big question. Does it matter a state of mind of a person that commits a gender-based violence upon another? How should the police react on a matter such as that one?
Yep, ESCOM does conduct better questions. For those of you tuned in and haven't, please subscribe to my channel. Got great content coming your way.
Violated by a person who is mentally challenged,
And just above
she
our
does
heads
need
there's
to have
Zappa.
redress.
So if you want to support Joe,
And the
just
redress
scan that
should not be,
and send them like, I don't
just
know,
go
7
away,
Rand,
go home.
2
It
Rand,
doesn't really matter.
2,000 Rand.
The type of
7 Rand
redress
would be
that
better.
will involve the intervention of a whole number of professional people, from social workers, from psychologists and psychiatrists. They should be brought into the picture. It should not just be the word of the police officers, because they may not be well versed in issues that have to do with people who are mentally challenged. And the wound that Beverly is suffering and what has been inflicted on her will not go away unless it is properly addressed to a point where she herself is satisfied. And the fact that it is in the category of gender-based violence, it makes it worse. So our police should be so well trained as to know that as soon as a case like that is presented to them,
I don't feel
they
empathy from
should
him. I'm
not,
sorry, I don't. I
on
don't
an
feel any
arbitrary
sympathy or
basis,
empathy from him.
just dismiss it and just pass judgment.
So I switched
They
to
should
the SABC stream
immediately be
so that I'm
also
hopefully hearing the same thing as you at
taking
the same
care
time,
of
not
the
20
interests
seconds
of the
behind.
victim, which is Beverly.
He's
They should
talking about
show
a woman
care
called
and
Beverly that
compassion
suffered
towards
Yes.
Beverly,
an incident.
and not just leave her
Okay.
in the lurch with a limp explanation like he's mentally challenged. And every police station must have access, if not immediate on site, but have access to professionally trained people like psychologists,
Civil
psychiatrists,
society has
who
been
can be
filling your
put on
gaps
board
for
so that they
ages.
first tender for the
Just
needs
give
of
them the
Beverly,
funding.
and
It's not going to go
thereafter
missing that
then
way. It's going to
immediately
get to the right
back
people.
on a process of verifying whether what the perpetrator is saying is true or not. So there needs to be a multidisciplinary involvement in all this. And that's precisely what we insist on. Once a case of gender-based violence, be it rape or femicide, has occurred, immediately we want all those disciplines to be brought to bear.
He does. He
We're
does seem
dealing
bored.
lives of human beings. We're dealing with the lives of women and girls of our country. And we have decided as a nation that we are going to stand up and demonstrate our care and our commitment to getting rid of gender-based violence in our land. So I would have wanted to see the police being more proactive and not just leaving it at saying the perpetrator is mentally challenged.
It's nice that you would like to
It
see that, but
cannot
what are
be
you
the
going to
case.
do
And
about it?
if the mental situation or status of that person has to be verified, it just can't be verified casually. There's got to be a process, but a process that makes Beverly see that justice is being done. So we cannot visit the hurt that she's gone through by just casually dismissing the act that has happened with an explanation that says the is mentally challenged. So Beverly demands justice, and she must get justice.
0800 142 446. That's a toll-free number if you would like to join in the conversation with the president this evening. I'll tell you what we're going to be doing. In the next couple of minutes, we're going to be taking questions from the media houses. We have invited media houses to be part of this program this evening. So
Now it's
get
scripted.
yourselves ready with your question if you're representing a media house. For now,
Yeah,
I'm
now
going to
it's
take a
scripted.
last batch of questions from our listeners, and then we'll move over to the media houses, and then we'll also take questions coming from social media. Let's go to John from Cape Town. It's a very good evening to you, John.
John Steenhuisen.
Go for it, John. What is your question?
That would be awesome if it was. Hey?
It would be, yeah. Shut up, Mr. President. If anyone watched that, yeah.
Makes Beverly see that.
Wait, heard something for a second.
No, I think that might have been me.
Kat, are you being sarcastic with that one? Because I don't think he owned any of that. I didn't feel empathy, sympathy. He's not angry with the justice system or the cops or anything like that. He could easily put his foot down and make things change immediately, but he's just talking.
Yeah, and
All right.
he keeps Becky Chele ass in a hat in power for, well, yeah. No.
Nope, real. Okay, well. If anything changes in the next month, then I will personally apologize to you, Kent.
Thank you so much, John, for your question. Let's take another caller quickly on the line, and I'm chatting to, I've got Blance. Blance, you're on the line. Good evening to you. What is your question? Good evening to you, Blance. Go ahead with your question.
Wow, Roch, that was intense.
Blance, you're on the line. Go ahead with your question, please.
We are commentating.
We're going to move over. Let's move over to the next caller. And I believe we've got Kanyisile from Mpumalanga. Good evening to you, Kanyisile. Your question, please. We're doing very well. Go ahead with your question.
This person sounds
Go
angry.
ahead, please.
I can't hear what they're saying, but they sound like they're shouting.
I think she actually asked if she could talk in her own language, and now she's...
Oh.
I know. She is speaking English. All I caught was, we are in lockdown and we are suffering.
How much... I wonder if they're going to address that one. Yeah, SABC needs to upgrade it.
SABC needs to upgrade their technicians.
That's true. There was a bit of a confusion earlier.
Bring them into the 21st century that we can actually hear the people that are calling in.
Oh, man. I want to remind people to go subscribe to Beth Eleutheria. This link is in the description below. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, there's a lot of fun that does happen on this channel. And we're commentating at the moment this
Siyabonga
meeting.
Siskhanyi, siyabonga ngombuzo wakho. Masithatha omunye ummameli lapha. I think it's no
And
Melusi.
give the stream a like,
Melusi,
people.
good evening
It
to you,
makes sure
Melusi.
people come watch us. Make fun of the
Melusi,
stream.
good evening to you. Okay, I think, have we still got Melusi on the line? All right, it looks like we've lost Melusi for a bit, but we're going to go to those two for now, Mr. President. Let's start with the one from John. John spoke about the death penalty, and I believe John is one person that's advocating for that. Perhaps you can touch on that, Mr. President. The second question from John was the one that's got to do with privatization. And of course, it sounded like John is advocating for that. Your response to those two questions, Your Excellency?
I did not hear the second one.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't hear the second one.
I did not hear the second question.
All right. The second question, that's the one from John, and he was talking about how
John
he
was the
views
first one.
privatization as the
What?
way to go. Your input and response to that?
Guys, correct me if I'm wrong in the
let's
comments.
start with the first one, the death penalty one.
John was a death penalty.
I did not hear the context in which he raised the question.
Second
I'm
question.
just hearing you relaying just those words, the death penalty. I don't know what he would like. I take it that he would like the death penalty to be reinstated. We used to have the death penalty in South Africa when we became a democracy and had a Bill of Rights, which is part of our constitutional architecture now. The Bill of Rights contains a very important basic right, which is the right to life. And it so happens that our constitutional court some years ago had to reflect on this matter to actually find out what this right to life meant. And they confirmed that the right to life militated against a death penalty, and that led to the death penalty being abolished because the right to life meant that somebody's life could not be taken from a judicial point of view by the state. We're not the only country that has done away with the death penalty. Many other countries have. And we are seeing situations where more and more countries are doing away with the death penalty in respect for life. And the argument is we are a constitutional democracy. There's a rule of law in our country, and therefore we are bound by what we committed ourselves to as a people, to the Constitution of our land, which has enshrined in it this right, but many other rights that we've got in terms of our Constitution.
Yeah.
And basically, I know that the argument has always been when horrendous crimes have been committed against our people, particularly women and children, there's always been an argument that bring back the penalty. And one understands why people have this deep feeling when they have to deal with perpetrators of violence and other crimes against women and children, and indeed other crimes as well, murder
about the
and so
Constitution.
forth.
Next question.
But we are bound by our Constitution. There are other ways of meting out punishment to those who take the lives of other people, particularly
Yeah,
women and
especially when you
children.
release them from
We
prison.
have been
Yes.
calling for the fact that, once you get involved in a rape and against a woman or a child or a young woman, and once you kill a woman, we are essentially saying that that should result in a sentence that will put you away for the rest of your life. Because if you do so, you kill a woman,
Unless a
you
pandemic
hit a
hits,
woman,
and then you
you
release them.
basically are defining yourself outside
Personally, I
of the
believe in
parameters
death
of
penalty on
what we
sight.
believe
So
is a life that
learn to
respects
defend
the rights
yourself
of other people. And we're saying that life
so that you
sentence
can
must
fight
mean
back
life,
against your attackers.
basically means that you must be sentenced to a long, lifelong jail sentence. You must never come out because you've violated another person's basic right, and it must be a long life sentence with hard labor. That's what we are advocating for. So we believe that there are ways in which punishment can be meted out against people who perpetrate horrendous crimes against women and children. When it comes to the issue of privatization, we live in a country that has committed itself to having what you would call a mixed type of economy, where there will be the public sector that plays a key role in the economy of our country, as well as the private sector. Now, certain
And they don't
entities,
perform.
certain companies are owned by the state, controlled by the state, and others are inevitably and obviously controlled by the private sector. And that prevails in many countries around the world. And we're finding that even those countries that see themselves as highly capitalist countries also have features like we have in our country, where the public sector owns certain companies and entities, and the private sector owns others. So there are those who've always called for privatize this, privatize this. Now, we are committed to a developmental type of trajectory where we want to develop our country and believe that there are a number of companies that will continue to play a key role in the developmental life of our country. We are not a developed economy, we are a developing country. And so we are a developmental state that still wants to make sure that the lives of our people are improved. And in doing so, there are certain
If you want that, then
companies
free the
and
market.
enterprises that must have a developmental thrust. And I'll give you a very good example. Good example, when we attained our democracy, only about 60 or the people of our country had electricity. It had to take a state-owned entity like ESCOM to drive the layout of electricity for the rest of the population. Electricity was not available in our deep rural areas because it was seen as a non-profitable venture to go to areas. I remember when my grandmother used to live deep in the rural areas in Limpopo. There was no electricity. And it was only in 1994 when ESCOM,
And you don't think that that would have
under
happened
democratic
under
government, was now able
privatization
to
as well?
spread electricity to
Really?
various
No, not only.
rural
No.
areas and the townships and what have you. And that could only be done by an
No,
that
you
is
plowed. The
publicly
ANC
owned.
plowed it into
Granted,
its own
Eskom
challenges.
ran into its own and problem. But the work that's been done by Eskom from 1994 onwards was of a developmental nature, which easily your ordinary privatized entity will never have been able to do. As we restructure Eskom going forward now, we will also be focusing more on the developmental role that an Eskom can continue to play. So there is room and space for publicly owned entities in our country, as there is room and space for privately owned entities in our country. So there are areas of economic
And
public
South
life that
SAA
we believe need
liquidated.
to remain in state control, state ownership, and yet there are others that should be in private hands as well. Thank you very much.
It is 10 minutes before 7 o'clock. We've got about 10 minutes to go. I'll tell you what we're going to do at the moment. We're going to shift our focus, and we're going to focus now on the social media questions that are coming through. All right, I don't see any media houses at the moment, but I can see social media questions that are coming through. So we're going to focus on those for a bit. The first is coming from Skippers, and if you could be so kind, Mr. President, to explain what the rationale behind unbanning of alcohol sales, the lifting of curfew, and withdrawing of roadblocks. And that was a question that came through Twitter. That's the first one. The second one is coming from Sandile Kumalo. Sandile wants to find out the right to life is of importance. Why was this right rather not considered when reopening schools and lifting up alcohol bans? As well. The last one perhaps that we can entertain for now, Mr. President, is one that's coming from Louise. Louise wants to find out, she says, I want to know how South Africa is going to use the disruption caused by COVID-19 to pivot towards a better South Africa for all. What detailed, what practical, what implementable plans does government have in order to pivot ourselves to a better South Africa for all? Those are the three. Mr. President, go for it.
Let's deal with the sort from Skippers, what the rationale was in relation to lifting the ban on alcohol. National Coronavirus Command Council discussed this matter extensively. And as we were going down to the various levels, it was thought and felt that alcohol should be lifted at level 3. And we have indeed gone ahead to open a number of other areas at level 3. Now, the rationale really was you could not keep a number of areas of South African economic activity closed forever. And you needed to reach a stage where we would be able to lift those so that our lives can carry on, but at the same time under restrictions. And there were restrictions that were imposed, but at the same time, after we lifted this, we started seeing, as I have said in an address to the nation, the ugly side of
yes, because you took
life,
it away for 3
where there's
months.
been excessive
So what did you think people were going to do? They were going to binge
alcohol,
as soon as they could.
Which has led to a whole lot of other social ills. It has led to ills such as gender-based violence. It has led to road accidents.
Which was all a problem before the lockdown.
To stab
Yeah, I was about to
wounds,
say.
gunfights, and the trauma units in
Just
our
like the hospitals are not overwhelmed
were
with
relatively
COVID,
empty.
the health sector
during
is
the
overwhelmed
lockdown
in
period.
sections,
And after
as
the
it always has
lockdown,
been.
after the relaxation of the alcohol ban, they've now been
I
clogged
think Jack
with
Russell.
a number of cases resulting from accidents, wounds, gunshot wounds, and violent encounters that many of our people had. This is regrettable,
Thank you,
deeply
Yanni. You're
regrettable.
such an awesome guy.
The other part that's regrettable, and this is now the social aspect, is that we are seen as one of the countries in the world that has a high alcohol consumption level. And this is something that I have said we need to have a conversation about. We cannot ban alcohol forever. Where it has been banned, we found that the illicit trade that happen around alcohol, resulting in many more serious problems, such as the put so dangerous to the health of people. Not that alcohol is not, it is indeed when it is overconsumed, but there are quite a number of other side negative effects of alcohol. So that in itself is something that has concerned us as a nation, and that is what we need to focus on. You wanted to know what the rationale did we have with regard to the lifting of the curfews. Lifted
There's
curfews
still a curfew.
because during level 3, all of us do need to have a good reason why we are moving.
Am I wrong?
The first is that if you move out of your home, you are going to work, or you are going to school, or you're going to buy food, or you're going to for exercise, or jog, or walk, or whatever. There is a reason that is needed out
So why
there.
did we have a curfew in the first place?
And that happens during the course of the day, and that would also happen during the evening. And it was thought that since we all need to have a rationale, a reason
a
rather,
lot of people
why we are out
already started
of our
cutting back
homes
on
at
their
that time,
socializing and everything
that
before
in
the lockdown.
itself was
And the rest of them,
sufficient, because the idea of a curfew
just get
under
it over, get
level
herd
3
immunity.
seemed to be too heavy restriction, because it opened up a number of activities which people would be able to justify why they are out of their homes for. I didn't quite hear the question on roadblocks, but roadblocks
I
still
agree with you, Rog. That makes no sense.
are mounted, and they may not be mounted in the same way that they were under
Apparently,
level
they want to
5,
control you when you
but the
go and visit your
roadblocks are
friends and
still
family. They can't control you at home.
No,
activities that
I
our
started a
police,
company and
as well
employed
as
my
our
sister so that she could come
National Defense Force
sew for me.
rely on to have various levels of control over what is happening. Sandile asks about the right to life and how it impacts on, for instance, schools. Of course, we
People are
subscribe
still panicking
to the
about their
right to
precious
life.
children getting sick.
People are asking for the schools to close down.
I
the
know.
right to
I'm looking at
life
the live
for
chat and
us
it's on
is
SABC.
important, and it is sacrosanct.
It's ridiculous.
But at the same time, we've also
Children do
known
not get this
that
illness badly.
we've got to protect
Unless
livelihoods
if
as
they
we
don't have
protect lives,
comorbidities like
life rather.
diabetes and stuff like
And
that,
in doing
send
so,
them to
we've
school.
got to create a really good balance between the two. The issue of opening schools was extensively canvassed with parents, yes, with the teaching fraternity, with a whole number of other key role players in our society. And much as it is a risk, just as everything else is a risk, particularly now under the COVID-19 situation, it was felt that it was a calculated risk to return thousands and rather millions of young people back to school, so that we do not lose the academic year, particularly for grade 7, and for grade 12. Because those are the critical years for them to move on, and that we would only phase in the latter grades at a later stage. We've seen that social distancing does work. Masks are worn at the school, there's water at the school, and everything else. And so there have been infections, not only of learners, but of teachers as well. And most of these have been brought from the home side, and where there have been infections, and the infections have not only been in schools, they've also been at work, they've also been in offices where people work.
Yes. So
And
let us.
it is a virus that we've got to live with. And where it has occurred, where someone has been infected, we are saying, and we'll continue to insist that they must be isolated, must be quarantined, and in the end, when they are symptomatic, they must be treated. So the right to life process is respected throughout indeed, because life is sacrosanct. But at the same time, we've always known we could not keep everyone in the country away from some normal activity that we've been involved in as a nation, because that in itself would never be sustainable. But let me also add that many other countries in the world are dealing with exactly the same problem and challenge. And when it comes to alcohol, I have explained the issue of alcohol. We are concerned about the abuse of alcohol. Louise asks, how can we use this COVID moment to improve the lives of our people? What we have said, COVID-19 is a dark cloud that is hanging over our country. There is a silver lining that we've got to look out for. And that silver lining is the one that's, we're going through a crisis, the opposite or the other side of a crisis. We need to look at the opportunities that this moment yields. What are those opportunities? We are currently involved in looking at the various opportunities that are being given rise to by COVID-19, such as setting the economy of our country. COVID-19 or coronavirus has just brought to presence the devastating effect of poverty, of unemployment, and indeed it has done so for many other countries. Not that it was not known, but it has just brought it more to the fore. Challenges of hunger, challenges of inequality, and those have been brought much more dramatically to the fore, and we need to address those. And we believe that out of this COVID-19, as we now need to look at opportunities of dealing with hunger, of dealing with inequality, of dealing with unemployment. And it is for that reason that we said 500 billion rand that we announced will in many ways stabilize the situation, but there needs to be another phase,
your wallet,
which I call the third phase, that we now need to come up with. Interestingly, there are lots of conversations taking place in our country by the business community, by labor, by communities, and in government as well. And all these are going to coalesce into fashioning a new vision for our country.
NDR and RET and
collective basis,
all of that crap.
We all work together to craft a new compact, a compact that crafts a vision for our country. It's a compact that should be, a vision rather, that should be collectively owned by all our people. And our people must subscribe to it and sense that this is what we want to see for our country going forward. So to Louise, I would say, yes, this moment gives us a great deal of opportunities and options
Right.
that we will want to look at introspectively and craft a vision that will be able to take us forward. So thank
We're
you
looking at
very
the
much.
time. At the moment, we are 4 minutes into the hour, 7 o'clock. Mr. President, thank you so much, really, for having taken some time to be with us. We really appreciate it. This is one, I believe, of many to come in Bezos that we're going to be holding this
I'm
way,
going to do it again.
giving you
We got to call in next
opportunity
time.
to interact with your people. Just before we let you go, your final parting words, say 30 seconds, if you may, just some strong words of encouragement to the communities in South Africa.
But what I'd like to say is, as the incidents
So the media
of
didn't ask
infections
questions.
rise, and we are continuing to hear on our radios, on our television sets, that more and more people are becoming infected, and there are more deaths that are occurring. I'd like
Yes,
us
we're
to know
aware.
that we're not the only ones in the world going through this very testing moment. Many other countries are going through this testing moment, and the defense that we've always said we should have is to change our behavior. We as individuals need to know that we need to look after ourselves and those that. Now, if you are acutely aware that you've got to look after yourself,
Get
it's
ready
your
to
own
drink,
safety,
guys.
it's to secure your
Wash
own
your
life.
hands.
There are certain things that you've got
Wear
to do,
your
which we've been
mask.
talking about repeatedly. And we want to continue repeating this because it is important that the
Social
message
distance.
spreads more and more. And it is about the simple things that we've been talking about the hygiene,
Big
our
trial.
own hand hygiene, because this virus is transmitted through the droplets that come out of our noses, that drop on surfaces. We touch
Don't touch
with
your
our
face.
fingers, our hands, and then we rub ourselves on our noses and faces, and then we've got the virus. So it's important that we continue
Don't
with the
fiddle with your
practice
mask.
of washing our hands. We continue with the practice of covering our mouths and our noses. And one says this advisedly because there are still many people in our country who don't do that. I've been to certain places where you find that people are just not caring enough for themselves, but more importantly, for those that are near them and those who they work with and those that they
No.
love. We've got, once you move out of your home,
No.
you've got to cover your mouth
If you're
and your
alone
nose
in your own
and make
vehicle,
sure
you don't
that you
need to
sanitize
wear a mask.
your hands and wash your hands as many times as possible during the day. That is our defense, and safe social distancing. The close proximity that we continue to have is very dangerous. I'd like us to know that coronavirus is dangerous. It does not
Coronavirus in
know
80%
and
of
respect
cases is mild
anyone
or even
status
asymptomatic.
or what gender. It infects everyone. So it's important that we should do so and not be dismayed as we see the infections rising. And they will continue to rise. They should not alarm us. Our healthcare system continues to be strengthened as strengthening it on an ongoing basis. It is challenged, but we are strengthening it. What is pleasing for now is that our death rate is still at 1.8. Other countries are at 5%.
Because they've tested more.
Many more people are dying. Can we defeat this pandemic? Yes, we can. How can we defeat it? By changing our behavior. So I call on all of us South Africans to change our behavior. We will continue to work on dealing with the aftermath of COVID-19, which is already playing itself out with the economic decline we are seeing, with the unemployment that we are seeing, we will continue to come up with plans, strategies, and initiatives that are going to address challenges that people are having. I've appreciated the questions that have been raised. As it is an imbizo, we will do another imbizo so that people have the opportunity.
When
Questions,
do we
however
get our
difficult they may
cigarettes
be,
back?
we are here to
Cyril?
answer those questions because
That's what I
government
want to know.
must
It's all anyone
continue
wants
to
to
be
know.
accountable to the people of South
Beth and I will
Africa.
stay on for maybe
With those
5-10
words,
minutes
I
after
thank
this,
the listeners and
just
those
to
who pose
discuss a few
questions
things,
and say
give our
thank you
opinions
very
on some
much.
topics.
We will do this once again. Thank
Your
you.
Excellency.
That's the voice of the President of the Republic of Africa, Your Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Thank you so much for your time, making for us to interact with you. Have a very
Okay, wait. I need to get
President Cyril Ramaphosa wrapping up the presidential.
Alrighty, that is. Let me just close this quickly.
Am I blurry?
No, I think you're fine. Let me just check quickly. Cool. Yeah, you're a little bit blurry. Just do the hand thing. Do the hand thing. Do the hand thing. Talk to the hand. Woohoo. All right. So first off, those of you that are watching, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk maybe for 5-10 minutes. Give comments. We'll also talk with you guys. So this was, I think they call it Imbuzo, where the president takes questions from people. And I have so much to say. Like, do you want to go first or should I go first?
I think I said most of it during the stream. I don't know how much the audience could actually hear.
Well, yeah, they heard you. First off, I think that when the guys said, first off, the audience was, or the people that were calling in were muted, or not muted, but you couldn't hear them. I think that was on purpose after thinking about it for a while. They didn't want people to hear what these people were calling in and saying. And as you could tell by these long questions, this guy would be like, yeah, so John just wants to know about death penalty. But there's like a long conversation there, so that sounds a bit fishy. I think that if they do this again, Beth, we must call in. We must try and call in.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
I am not fooled at all. It's the same information over and over. Even when they spoke about the cigarette, obviously that was the first question asked, and he said, "Oh, I didn't think we were going to get that question so quickly." Bull.
That's the
Bull.
question foremost on people's minds at the moment. Like, hello. I'm gonna stop talking with my hands because it confuses my camera.
Yeah, so I mean that was ridiculous. I'm pretty sure that they got other questions about cigarettes and people were angry and the guy was just like, "Oh, we lost that caller. Oh, we lost that caller." They didn't lose a caller. They just didn't want to take the question, I think. And yeah, I didn't hear anything that he hadn't said before. I don't know.
No.
Guys, comment. Let us know what you guys think. Apparently, Ronaldo tried to call in with no luck. That would have, yeah. Who knows if we'll even get on or get in. I'm just gonna look at some. Beth, do you want to say anything?
Yeah. He certainly didn't come up with any new lies. Him going on and on about the Constitution and everybody's right to life, when I'm sorry, my children are turning rabid. When he went on and on about everybody's constitutional right to life, but we haven't seen any constitutional rulings that have been heeded in terms of the lockdown regulations. So, yeah. Like,
here's a question for you. As a woman, Beth, how did you feel when he spoke about gender-based violence?
I heard him say these things before. I've heard him make promises before. I've heard, you know what? I don't want to hear the talk anymore. I want to see action. I want to see actual funding going to the correct places and institutions that are actually making a difference in this field. I work not closely, but I do work with women that work in this field, and they get private funding and they make it work. Like, all of this lip service means nothing to me. You know what? Just make it easier for women to get guns. Just make it easier for women to defend themselves. Because if a woman is a hard target, a woman is not going, every man is going to think twice before he tries to attack her or
Absolutely.
before he tries to do anything.
Yeah. I agree with
That's
you.
how I feel.
And I think a lot of people would agree with you. I've spoken to a lot of women about this whole gender-based violence thing, and they all agree. Like, he's just talking. They don't feel empathy. They don't feel sympathy. They want something done. They want action. And talking doesn't really solve the problem. Another thing that was spoken about in the chats, which I think triggered a few people, was the schools. Chico saying that he went to government school and he turned out fine. You had an opinion saying that government schools at the moment aren't as good as they used to be, especially when it comes to helping students mentally. I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but I think I'll give my opinion and then you can give yours. It is a known fact that schools in South Africa are not doing well. If you look at AfriForum's research and IRR's research, schools are dismal in South Africa, and this is before COVID. Teachers weren't attending the schools, and I'm talking about rural areas and especially in the poverty areas. Teachers were not going and teaching the kids, and they'd be there for 4 hours and leave. Their conditions were horrible. The education system needs to be looked at and needs to be supported by the government, and it's not. So those are the areas that need desperate attention. As for middle class and above, I think some schools are good, some schools are bad. I have been to school here. I did matric in South Africa. It was a private school, and it was all right. I felt it was all right. I didn't feel that I was being lied to or narrative was different. They cared for the students. But there is a very big problem with education in South Africa, and it needs to be looked at. So, Beth, I don't know if you want to add to that.
The public school system, or what was formerly known as Model C schools, unfortunately failed my daughter, and I pulled her out. And ever since then, we've been a homeschooling family. My boys are now of school-going age, which they weren't at the time, but they are now. So we homeschool all of them, and I can provide them with an education that is tailor-made to their needs and to where they struggle and where they excel. So, we can really work hard on the stuff that they're struggling with, and the stuff that they're excelling at, I don't have to make them repeat it because just for the sake of repetition, because that's how they teach in school these days. So, I have lost faith in the schooling system. I do also believe that it is a means by which they're able to brainwash children. In the media, not so much the mainstream media, but people have been saying in media that the ANC is like rewriting history and saying that certain things happened because of them and that they didn't. And, it's just little things like that actually making sure that your children are being taught properly, like the true thing, And yes, it does mean a certain level of commitment and hard work on my part. But, I didn't bring tiny humans into this world to fill this world with assholes. I brought tiny humans into this world to hopefully make a positive contribution to the world. So I'm not going to raise assholes that are socialist and demanding and expect everything on a silver platter without working for it. No. So that's why I've fallen out of favor with public schooling. However, I do believe and I do acknowledge that it has its place.
Exactly.
Look, we're not terribly rich. My husband doesn't earn 100,000 Rand a month to enable this sort of lifestyle. we cut corners where we could in order to do this for our children.
Yes.
And but as long as we have divorced parents and households where both parents have to work and everything, there is a place for a schooling system. But it needs a revamp.
Yes.
And the ANC's answer to revamping was a bottom-down approach, which does not work.
Yeah.
Centralizing everything does not work. It needs to come from the community, because the community is going to educate those people that live in that community to contribute to that community.
Yes.
Centralizing an education system is not the answer.
Yeah. And also the 30% pass rate is also not good. You need to encourage people.
That's just to inflate numbers.
Yeah.
That's just so that we can say we have so many people that have completed school.
It's not good though,
because when they haven't.
You're not creating an environment where people are driven to do better and for competitiveness. While some people might see that as a problem, it's actually a good thing, because the real world doesn't give you stuff. It doesn't. You have to work hard, and you have to have goals, and you have to improve yourself. So I definitely don't agree with the 30%. Chico says he's got to go. Thank you, Chico, for I know that it sounded
Thanks for hanging around, Chico.
It sounded like the public schooling thing was a bit of a trigger for you. I could be wrong, and you do want to come onto my show and have a chat. So just message me, man. Would love to have you on. We can chat. I would actually like to get your point of view. Talk about schooling, talk about whatever you want. But again, like I do think that some schools are different to others. I do think that some of them may have not been affected. It depends on where you go, what area you're in, and stuff like that. I think a generalization by saying all schools are messed up might be a bit much. But I would say the majority need help. They need a revamp. And yeah, it's worrying. Yeah.
And unfortunately, the ANC is centralizing it more, because they actually want to take even more power away from the school governing bodies, the schools that actually have governing bodies. So there's that aspect to consider as well.
Yeah.
That schools are a far different place than when we were in them.
Yeah. Well, you have kids, I don't, so you would know a bit more about that than I would. I do want to say this, ladies and gentlemen, this is Beth Symes. She runs and produces content for Eleutheria. The link to that channel is in the description. Please support her. She talks about our freedoms and our rights and all that stuff, and very passionate about when it comes to parenting, homeschooling. She's done a few shows on that, guns and fishing. If you guys want to know more about that, she's always looking out and talking about those topics. So please go and subscribe to her. Look, I think those are the main topics for me that really stood out. I don't feel like anything new is said. We still don't know when exactly. Is level 3 now point whatever now? Is that now a thing? Have we gone into it? Or are we still like? Is it like? I think cinemas still need to open. Other places still need to open. No mention of when that's going to completely take effect. Again, when he was asked about the cigarettes, oh no, they're not going to be banned forever. Basically, that's what he said. We're not going to be in lockdown forever, and once lockdown is over, they won't be banned. That's what I got from that. And he hinted a bit at saying that different levels won't have, like, it almost sounded like he was trying to say level 2 or level 1 they might unban it, but I think he was scared to misspeak on that one. Yeah, that for me. Yeah, that was it for me. I don't know. How do you feel?
Yep. Yeah, it was just more of the same.
Yeah.
Wash your hands, wear your mask, socially distance. You can go eat in a restaurant, but you still can't go braai with your friends and family.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I can see people have to go. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be streaming again in an hour. I will be having some comedians with me on the show where we're going to talk about being woke. To be or not to be woke. 3 other comedians will be joining me on the show, and we're going to talk about that, how woke might be affecting the arts. So if you're interested and want to give your 2 cents, come join us. That will be at 8:30 with Werner Weber, Peter Sawanga, and Mikhail Kanaka and myself. So please come and join us. Beth, when are you doing some content?
Tomorrow I'm going to be either doing like a podcast style live stream, or I will make it a video, and that is going to be on the government intervention in early childhood development and why I think it's a bad idea.
Interesting.
And how they've got quite a bit of it wrong. And it's all about, it's because of it, being centralized. So letting communities take care of this as they see the need and rise to the challenge to provide for it, and how government has failed in that. And so that'll be coming out tomorrow.
Fantastic. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, please go support and subscribe to Eleutheria. Tell your friends, tell your family. For now, this is me and Beth just commentating on what was probably, I don't know, just another speech done differently. And he says he's going to do it again. I'm going to try next time. I'll be back. I'm going to try and phone in live on the stream.
We'll both.
Yeah.
We'll both.
We'll get in. And then it's probably going to be like, I'll get in and then I'll be like, I don't know what I want to ask. But anyway.
Yeah. When the fuck are we getting our cigarettes back? Sorry, am I allowed to swear on your channel?
I don't care. All right. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you here at 8:30. If not, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening. And yeah, I'll see you at the next one. Beth, don't go anywhere. I'll say bye to you just now. Bye, guys.